I got the Hamish book in here.
I don't care either.
It's like almost like a ledge day. I'm gonna do the music thing. So I can find it.
Everybody here? Everybody ready? Yes? Yes, good. Okay, good morning. I'm happy to join with you today, as well as my colleagues in government. And we have with us, obviously, our presiding officer, Norma Gonzalez, and our leader, Kavan Abrams, and let's not miss anyone here. So we have legislators, Stephen Rhodes, Bill Gailey, Dennis Dunn, Rose Walker, Laura Curran, I said Steve Rhodes?
Yes,
Judy Jacobs. And they all joined us here today. In a very happy announcement in a bipartisan way, we have come together to find $3 million in addition to provide a nice bus, which will result in the restoration of some of the bus service that was eliminated by the Transit Committee in a November meeting that took effect in January. So we're very happy that we're able to come together in this. Obviously, collectively, we will want to see our transportation system as robust as possible. We want a transportation system that our ridership can depend on, and we want a transportation system that provides alternatives for our ridership. It's very important for our economy. It's important for, obviously, their households, and that's why we're here today to announce $3 million in additional funding. As you know, the history here with respect to operating our bus system was originally operated by the MTA. They came to the county MTA and wanted to cut 26 routes or demanded from the county $26 million more. At that time, the county was not in a position to provide $26 million more, and clearly our economy and our ridership could not sustain 26 route cuts. We went forward in a unanimous way. We found a private operator to continue to operate our publicly owned bus system, and they are doing a good job in that regard. At the time of the contract, they had the ability to cut 6 routes right on the onset. Working together from the onset, we've come together, and each year we've been able to provide them money to avoid those cuts. Obviously, in this year's budget cycle, we maintained the same funding from the year prior, which, by the way, was increased by $4 million to $6.5 million. And that was really through coming together with Presiding Officer Norma Gonzalez, Kavan Abrams, and the legislators here, a desire to continue to subsidize the bus, to continue that service. Obviously, in this budget cycle, for different reasons and different interests, there was not additional monies coming to the county in terms of recurring revenue and in terms of increasing revenue, so we maintained the $6.5 million subsidy, which then subsequently the Nice Bus moved forward and cut the routes that have created issues for our ridership. All the legislators have heard from riders. I myself obviously have heard from riders. And from the very onset, I met with Norma and Kavan, Laura Curran, and other legislators here to try to find a way. And what we said was we can find additional money. What does that mean? That means money that is beyond what we budgeted that becomes available. Money that's beyond meeting the contingencies that we set forth in the budget. We would look to a restoration. So I'm happy to announce, I have been informed by our Office of Management and Budget that we are looking at a budgetary surplus of $45 million to end 2015. So $45 million budgetary surplus. Many of the pundits earlier in the year were predicting $60 million budgetary deficits. We said we would manage to that problem. We would become more efficient. We would watch our spending, so reducing spending, other efficiencies, and a host of other things that occurred into the benefit of the county and the taxpayer. We will have this $45 million. So those of you that are following the budget will understand that NIFA set out $80 million in contingencies, and the county needed to show $20 million per quarter to make up for those contingencies. The county submitted on January 1st, the first quarter, $20 million, which was accepted, and also the fourth quarter, $20 million that was accepted. That left $40 million for the second and third quarters to be met. I believe that those initiatives that were put forth will actually generate that money. But this additional $40 million clearly backstops all of those risks, leaving about $5 million or in that area, in which we're taking $3 million to restore bus service for our riderships. I think collectively it's the wise thing to do. It'll certainly take an act of the legislature, but their determined desire to provide for our ridership resulted in this wonderful bipartisan agreement as we move forward to provide these dollars. So in the coming weeks, Nice Bus will provide a restoration plan to the administration as well as to the minority and the majority. We will sit down, we will come to an agreement on this $3 million, and then the bus service will obviously be restored accordingly. So with that, I thank everybody here for working together. It always feels good when you can work together and produce a betterment for the public, and that's what's occurred here in this group here. And I want to commend each and every legislator. They really did spend time sitting with me, sitting with our administrators, so I do want to emphasize that, on their own and collectively, very determined to do this, and we're happy to join with our legislators to achieve this. So with that, let's hear from our presiding officer, Norma Gonzalez, then our minority leader, Kavan Abrams, and then Mike Setzer from Nice Bus, and then we'll take some questions. Norma?
Thank you very much. Good morning. Let me say, first of all, I am pleased to join with the County Executive, Magano, and my colleagues in government in this announcement of $3 million to the Nice Bus system, with the hope that bus routes will be restored. I know that in the coming weeks, as the County Executive has said, that we will be meeting to discuss the restoration plan. Hopefully that will happen sooner than later. I also want you to know that this is a good thing for our residents, especially those who have lost the ability to access the bus routes, but it's also something that we have to keep in mind, that we need to continue to move forward in the weeks and months ahead so that we can do what we're doing today in 2017. This is something that we're going to have to work together on trying to find the revenues that would make it possible for us to continue in the event that's happening here. So I thank the County Executive and of course my colleagues in government, and especially the minority leader, Kavan Abrams. And let me say to you that we are going to be working on the side of the ridership in Nassau County. And I tell you right now, I have received a number of calls regarding the loss of the bus route. So I know what bus routes are in my district, and I'm sure my colleagues in the other districts know exactly where those bus routes are. And hopefully, after we meet with Mr. Setzer in the next week or two, we will determine which bus routes are going to be restored. I thank you for your attention, and I thank you again, County Executive.
Thank you, Norma. Minority Leader Ryan.
Thank you and good morning. First, I want to take the opportunity to thank the legislators of the Democratic Caucus, who all of you probably well know for the last 30 days have advocated strongly. Obviously, my colleagues in the majority as well, but the Democrats in the legislature have advocated strongly to ensure that the routes that were cut, the routes that impacted the Elmont area, Valley Stream, Franklin Square, Baldwin, Rockville Center, and so on, would be restored. And obviously, we also are cognizant of the fact that it took a great amount of resources, and I'm glad to hear from the county executive that he was able to identify money in the surplus to be able to try to do this. This is a priority for all Nassau County residents, not just the ones that use the bus service, but think about the people that use the bus service and where they have to go. They have to go to work, they have to go to the doctor's office, they have to get their kids to school. These are all things that have a ripple effect, because many of the people that are employers in this great county, they are relying on these folks to be able to get to work and to get to their appointments in a timely manner. So it's extremely important that we're able to go forward, and especially with a system that we want people in Nassau County to be proud of. We want to grow our system. With all the transformation that we're doing at the Nassau County Hub, at the Coliseum, we want to build a bus system that is going to be great, that not just the folks that may not have the economic means, to be able to get around Nassau County, use the bus system. But people like myself and young people up here and old people up here and seniors up here are able to utilize the bus service just as well. We should all be utilizing the bus service to a greater degree, and instead of driving in our cars. And that's why I think it's extremely important that we be able to make this restoration, make the restoration to the routes that were cut, because those are the people that need this service the most. And if we're able to expand other routes, then that's well and good too. But I think we have to start with the folks that had to walk through 27 inches of snow when we saw that snowstorm hit us a couple of weeks ago, to the routes that were going there. I also want to be able to take the opportunity to thank Mike Stetzer, who met with my caucus, who has patiently shown us where he needed resources to be able to fulfill a great bus service in Nassau County. I think Mike has done a very noble and good job on behalf of the residents in Nassau County. We need to be able to do right, or better. I think we as county leaders need to do a better job by the NICE system, by ensuring that it has the resources and funding that it needs so that it can continue to grow and provide a greater service to people in Nassau County. I just want to take this opportunity, and I hate to upset any legislators, but I know Legislator Jacobs, who has been a stalwart advocate of Able Ride here in Nassau County, just wanted to say something really brief, Judy.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I do really repeat exactly what Kevon just said and agree with everything he said. And I must tell you that Mr. Setzer has been a friend. He's been open to discussion, and that is deeply appreciated. This is so wonderful, and I applaud the county executive and all the legislators on both sides of the aisle for reaching this point. This is just the beginning. I've been tireless in reaching out to the state. The state had the governor in his speech at the LIA said the economy is so important. We must get everybody going. We must get everyone to work. We must build the economy. Well, the only way to build the economy is to have reliable bus service and reliable train service, and a bus to get to the train or to your job. Right now, that is not the case. So this is wonderful, and I applaud it, and it's the first good news, actually, in all these years since the whole cut began from the very beginning, that we hear something of restoration. But we have to use this as a stepping stone and a liftoff for the future, because believe me when I tell you, my district and Donald McKenzie's district and Delia Derision-Whitman's district has no bus service and no Able Ride. So people have to remember that. So this is the beginning. It's a great beginning, but we all have to focus on what's going to come from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. So obviously, when the budget comes up and it's time to fund, hopefully everybody will work together in a bipartisan way to support the revenues that are necessary to support a bus system. I do want to recognize Laura Curran, who did spend a significant amount of time advocating as well in my office, as well as Rose Walker and Steve Rhodes and Bill and Dennis Dunn came up as well. So they really did work individually to be an advocate. You heard from Judy and Vermont and Juan, but I would be remiss if we didn't really give credit for all the legislators that spent their time trying to find a solution cooperatively, come together. My discussions with Laura was, listen, if you can find it, we're going to do it, we're going to work hard to do it. So I do want to commend my staff as well, because they really worked hard to make certain that there was this budgetary surplus. They managed the budget, they managed expenses, they cut expenses, and that's what's leading to what we can do here today, which significantly brings up our contribution to the bus system. And clearly we expect NICE Bus to have the same mindful thought when they spend their money, that it's done efficiently and directed to bus service for our riders. So with that, we have Mike Setzer. Mike, want to say a few words?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, County Executive. There are about 1,000 people who work at NICE Bus, and on behalf of all of them, we like to put service out and carry passengers rather than take it back in. So we're really pleased, and I want to say thank you to County Executive Magana, to Leader Gonzalez, to Leader Abrahams, and to all the members of the legislature for creating this opportunity. We're going to move as quickly as we can. Just a little quick note, there are a lot of things to be done to restore service. It can't happen quite overnight. There are buses to come back out of mothballs and be recertified. There are drivers to be hired and trained and qualified. There are federal processes and labor contract processes. So we'll use that time to present some ideas and some plans to the county so that we can use this new $3 million the smartest possible way. So again, thank you very much for all the support. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, any questions?
How soon will we see these routes restored?
We've asked Nice Bus to present a plan in about a week to 10 days. Then it'll take comment, depending upon the comments. At that time, we'll be able to provide a realistic date for the bus service. But I think collectively you heard that we'd like to see this quickly as possible.
How many of the 11 routes that were cut can riders see coming back?
Well, that's part of what will be discussed.
Are they looking at half? Or?
Well, I think $3 million is significant. So there'll be enough money to do most, if not all, of the routes.
Well, as
But
far
we're going to
as-
hear from, Nice Bus in their plan of how to utilize the money most effectively, and that's what will be presented to the legislature. But in total, the money is there that would restore what was taken away.
Okay, because they were facing a $7.5 million deficit. So $3 million, while it is a large lump sum of money, of course,
It was
isn't going to solve the problem.
Well, it was reported to us that the cut was $250,000 to $300,000 a month, and clearly with February gone, that would be a significant restoration. And that was where the $3 million came from the figures that Nice Bus provided, not only my administration, but all the legislators here. That was the budget that they were looking for.
There's also money proposed in the governor's budget as well.
Right.
Help address
There's still money that, and we're advocating on the state level for increased funding. They have the other $3.8 million in the budget. We hope that it stays there. And actually, we're advocating for more dollars, as Judy said. And I've been told to do just that, advocate for more dollars for the bus system. So, again, the more you can improve it, the more service you provide. I think it helps strengthen our economy here, provide options to our riderships, and help support employment. So that's what we're going to do. Sorry,
That's okay.
ready.
That's good. It sounds like things worked out and that you had this surplus and some money left over, but no guarantees going forward. Any thoughts on different ideas for recurring revenue streams? Some legislators have brought up things like a special tax for Uber or advertising on bus shelters.
Well, I would say all those things are on the table, but it takes bipartisanship, working together, and I think that that's the discussion that will need to take place for our September, budget submission, and we'd be anxious to hear, from the leaders and the legislators of what appetite they have for supporting recurring revenue, and clearly we're supportive of, the bus system, and so stay tuned as we, get into that budget cycle. As you know, which really pretty much starts in June. We already start to prepare our budget for the ensuing year, which is due on September 15th as a public submission, to the legislature, and then we have about 45 days in there to work things out. But I think this would be a good opportunity if the legislators get together before June and give an indication, if we all work together, give an indication of what level of recurring revenue we can agree on, and then, so that certainty is in the budget for September 15th, so Nice, due to their budget, doesn't have to react in the manner that they did statutorily through the Transit Advisory Committee, hold hearings on a budget that proposed cuts, and that's taken simultaneously as we're trying to get the budget. So if we all back up a little bit, at least into this one area, perhaps we can avoid that during the way the statutes work for this, upcoming budget cycle. So
Any other questions?
Okay, so good news for ridership.